You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we are here to discuss the second day of the third test in Adelaide. England, they entered the day with some hope. They bowled pretty well on day one, and I think, Max Roy Brown, that they will end day two knowing that the urn will be staying in Australia. I'm Jack Hope. I said I'm with Max. I am there with you. Max, it's a somber day. It's a somber day if you're English.
I'm sad. I am sadder than I think I've been at any point so far this Ashes, which is pretty impressive given what happened after day one of test one, and it all came crashing down before our very eyes. But I think this has been even more painful to endure. I think the timing of it probably makes it worse as well, given it all happens right in, in the middle of the night. We were gearing ourselves up for the day that England put their foot down and make a statement and show that they are here to stand up and be counted. And into the wee hours of the morning, it was just all slipping away. There was talk of the ashes slipping through their fingers. I think it was more they picked up the ashes and smashed the urn on the floor and then stamped the ashes into the ground a bit just to make extra sure.
I wouldn't say it was that violent. We'll talk about my.
It was a bit meek, wasn't it? Actually,
yeah, my thoughts on it. But I wouldn't say that it certainly wasn't a raging against the dying of the light, was it? It was like,
no.
All right then, we'll go through the motions. We're here now. Might as well play. Look, make sure you click like and subscribe. Say hello in the YouTube chat if you're watching the live stream. If you're listening onto a podcast, then I suggest, as I have done through this series, that you head over to Spotify and leave a review. We're chasing Shane Warne. I'll get the live stats on it up for a bit later in the show. But I think it's we're only 20 or so reviews behind Shane Warne's wicket total now.
The metric of all metrics.
Yeah, exactly. We measure ourselves against the greatest.
Rightly so.
And soon we will be able to say we're better. Help us get to that stage. Max, do a quick summary of the day for people who, I guess, slept, made a good decision and slept.
Yeah, made the right call. Well, start of the day, obviously, the situation was that England had two jobs. Job number one was to try and remove the last two Australian wickets without too much further damage. And job number two was to bat all day and put some runs on the board. They sort of managed job number one. Mitchell Starc did make it to his 50, punishing a bit of wayward bowling early on. But then eventually England realised that if you do bowl at 90 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour at the stumps to a bowler, yeah, you might get them out. And that did eventually happen. Jofra Archer completed his fifer after a little spat with Ben Stokes about where the fielder should be. And 371 was what Australia ended on. And England got off to a decent start with the bat. Ben Duckett rode a bit of luck early on, but then got into his groove, played some sumptuous drives. Zach Crawley looked good for a few balls when he kept smacking the ball at the fielder and then immediately got out, as does happen sometimes when you end up picking the fielders. And then Ollie Pope played inexplicably a worse shot than possibly Marnus Labuschagne played in the first innings, and it all started to come tumbling down. Joe Root just about survived before lunch, but was gone soon after. A little bit of resistance from Harry Brook before he nicked off, and then it was over to the technology to take centre stage for the best part of the afternoon, as everyone bemoaned the delay between pictures and Snicko, a delay that was probably even more extreme than Ross when he appears on the podcast from home these days. And England were staring down the barrel, and it was a late salvo from Jofra Archer, who ends the day 30 not out, and Ben Stokes, who is 45 not out from a 4-hour vigil in the 40-degree heat. England 150 odd runs behind, 2 wickets in hand, and as we said, staring down both barrels, I think, of a fairly desperate defeat.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Let's do chronologically. We should say Jofra Archer probably finally has got what he deserved in this series. Bowled really well. Definitely some kudos from an English perspective. These to go to Joff. Probably a little bit of kudos as well to the Australians who managed to add 50 runs. I thought if we talk about that innings, in its sum total, I thought Australia were about 100 runs light. So I thought the 50 runs they scored this morning. I thought that the 50 runs that Australia scored, I'll say this morning, in the morning Australia, were quite crucial in edging them towards something that would be a little bit more competitive. And actually, you know what? Given the state of play, what Australia are now, they were 150 ahead as things stand. They were 100 ahead. England was still, I think, have a chance, wouldn't they? They have a puncher's chance of getting within 50 of that. So they're important runs from Poland. It was looking good. And the other thing was, it was like, if you've ever played cricket, there aren't that many comparisons between the level of cricket that most people play or have played and international cricket. But there is a dynamic sometimes that exists in like the vegetable cricket that we play. When you're batting second and like the 10 and 11 or the 9, 10, 11 for the opposition suddenly start smacking the ball everywhere, or vice versa. Like maybe you haven't scored any runs and then your tail enders start hitting the ball and you're like, oh,
show you how it's done.
The pitch actually is quite good and the other team are about to annihilate us or the opposite. And I was watching this and I think this is going to be a good day for England to bat. I think I was looking at the betting market and
Scott Boland was driving on the up. Like, he's a rabbit. He's a certified rabbit.
England was 3-1 to win the test. I was like, I'll have a bit of that. They went out and batted. It started really well. The odds dived. I could have cashed out my bet for a profit.
Yeah.
And then it all sort of tumbled down. And I'll get to. I've got some thoughts. I've got some thoughts on how England played. I'll preface it by saying I really don't understand what the game plan was. I think I've understood, and I think I've been pretty consistent on what I think England should do and why I thought what England were doing in the first two tests is what they should carry on doing. I don't understand today at all. I think it was strange, really strange. And I was watching it into the night and I was like, you are blowing a huge chance. You're blowing a huge chance to make a point about something you can't do. What do you make of it? There's some good bowling from Australia. Should we do the Australian good bowling? I think
that's where we should start, because it's very easy for that to get lost in the middle of it, because as bad as England were with the bat, which we will get onto, Australia with the ball were absolutely on the money from the get-go, right? Like Mitchell Starks ended up wicketless for the day, but he had post for 3 overs. That's one small victory for England. Pat Cummins, back into the side, immediately hit the ground running, and they all managed to get a little bit out of the pitch. Whatever was there, they got something out of it. They hit the right areas consistently. They made it really difficult for England. Well, as difficult as they could, given the fact that it was still a really good pitch to bat on. And they had the discipline and the skill and the nous that none of the England bowlers, bar potentially Jofra Archer, have had throughout the entire series so far. They bowled fuller than England did at any real point, and they got their rewards. And you have to say, like, as much as England's approach was a bit weird, and they maybe lack the skills to compete and face up to bowling that good. Australia were on it. The bowling was fantastic, and it really does contrast quite starkly with the way England went about the bowling yesterday. England were lucky, extremely lucky, to end up having Australia 8 down at the end of yesterday, especially with the way they started with the ball, like spraying it all over the place. You got Bryden Cast opening the bowling, who's not an opening bowler really, so I do have a bit of sympathy for him, but he was pretty bad. And Australia just showed you how it's done. on a tough day, 40-degree heat, lest we forget. They kept coming in, hit their areas, made it tricky, and England didn't have an answer to the questions that Australia posed on what was a pretty flat deck. So huge credit to Australia. It really serves to highlight how disastrous it could have been in the first two tests if Cummins were fit. And imagine Hazelwood as well. It would be devastating.
Yeah. I think well said. All of the Australians were excellent. Stark really unlucky not to have picked up a wicket. Boland bowled the best I think he's bowled in the series. Kept bringing the ball back in. I mean, like there was the whole did Carey take the catch thing with Root in the first place, and then Root goes shortly after that to Cummins, also caught by Carey, off the other edge. I don't think it did Carey, and I actually think Alex Carey said I didn't catch it straight away. So I don't know why Australia was so quick to review it. They probably should have listened to him on that front. But Boland was excellent. Cummins, did a Cummins. Nathan Lyon, though, was the one that I was sort of
most he might be bad.
Well, yeah, in a sense. Look, people who know Adelaide always say that that it does take spin, and it did take spin. But you did see the kind of gulf between. I don't know. Will Jones isn't. I mean, he is pretty bad, isn't he? You just saw the gulf between the two spinners.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, it could have been Will Jackson. It could have been
Lyon.
year. Would it have made a difference?
It wouldn't have made any difference. They would, England are lucky if Shoaib Bashir returns 100 for 2 in the first innings of a Test match. Genuinely, Nathan Lyon in his first over had got 2 wickets. I was like, there you go. There are levels, aren't there? And then like bowls 21 more tight overs. Lets people rest, does his job, perfectly, and even Cameron Green picks up a wicket with his sort of whatever it is, kind of fast. Not sure it should work, but it always does work. Bowling, yeah, Australia all round good. England. A few of them got out to good balls. Let's start with that. I mean, like if we want to talk about it, we've said in general Australia bowled well. The ball that Duckett got from Lyon is the perfect delivery.
Yeah,
from an off spinner to a left hander. That's literally the textbook ball. Got out there. You can say the same to some extent, I think, for Crawley and Root and Brooke. Even Will Jacks, he's sort of beaten on the inside edge. It's a good catch from Carey diving away to make the reaction, but it's a piece of skillful bowling that has beaten him. So there's a bunch of the England players that,
and most of the time you don't have a keeper up to the stumps, and you get away with that 99 times out of 100.
I guess the question is this just England? Have we just seen Australian bowling teaching England batting a lesson? Or is there something, Max, that England could have done differently? Is this? There's less rage. I'll say that. Yeah. I've looked around, and during the test, people were just sort of like accepting. It was. I know.
Well, this is it, right?
House vibe.
I think this
rather than a rage vibe.
This is where it all gets quite weird. It's the Twilight Zone sort of stuff. I mean, first things first. I think there are things that England could have done. Zach Crawley, he did get a good ball, but it was very leavable. It's not hitting the stumps, right? But that's Zach Crawley. I don't think he's got the ability to judge the length and leave the ball like that. So I think there is a big skill thing involved. I think, like I said, Australia posed questions to England batters that they didn't really have answers to. Ollie Pope's shot was, like we said, diabolical. So that one we'll move on from. Pope. Yeah, there are five catches behind the stumps for Alex Carey, and a lot of those are just sort of like kind of tentative prods, to good balls in good areas that did a little bit, left the batter, made it tricky, but there were sort of nothing shots, right? And there are a couple of other instances where there are nothing shots that some of they get away with sometimes, and that says to me that the whole rhetoric and the furore around Bazball and how attacking England want to be and reining it in was just weighing in the back of their minds, and it basically left them a little bit confused, and they didn't really know how they wanted to approach it. And that's got them into a position where instead of being positive on a decent pitch, where they had the opportunity to go and make runs and put pressure on the bowlers, they were a little bit reserved at times, and that got them into tricky situations. And that's not necessary to say that like being reserved and taking time out of the game wasn't the right way to go, because it was 40 degrees out there. Like, you ride through a little bit of time, make it tough, don't give anything away, kind of, you know, give the Australians a challenge mentally to say, right, how long can you keep coming at us in this heat if you're not getting your rewards? And, you know, we're making you charge in and, you know, bowl it just on a good line, and I'm not interested, that kind of thing. And then you can cash in a bit later on. Like, you know, we saw Jofra Archer's on 30 or 48 at the end of the day. I mean, that can't be a coincidence that some of that comes at the end of a day of 40-degree heat, charging in, even after they've had such a good day with the ball. But then you get to the point where I don't think England have, you know, necessarily got the right approach to doing it. They're not used to it, so they got into a bit of a muddle mentally, got themselves a bit stuck, and then came unstuck. That's sort of the way I see it. So I'm blaming the English media and all the Bazball haters for confusing our poor brave boys and resulting in the mess that we saw today. That's
yeah. Here's what I think: England stopped playing like this because they're fucking awful when they do.
yeah. Well, yeah. This was one win in 17, wasn't it? It was that.
Yeah, they tried this for fucking years. And what happens is, at this level, basically every test team in the world, basically every team in the world will run in and hit a good length and a good line over and over and over again if you let them. Of all the teams in the world, the best team at doing that collectively are Australia. And if you play like this and you say to Australia, what we're going to try and do is outlast you, we're going to say, this is my take, and it's maybe a little bit different to yours. If you say we're going to try and outlast Scott Boland and Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon in a game of patience and discipline, you are going to lose. That's how those guys got so good. They are relentless. They hit that length, they hit that line, they challenge both sides of your edge. And if you can't make them go to a different plan, they will get you out. And they will get you out caught behind over and over and over again. They don't even need to move the ball that much. On a flat pitch, those guys are good enough to get just enough nibble off the pitch. Yeah. Dig it in just enough to get it going 2 or 3 inches. And that's it. Like, you can last for a while. You can look comfortable for a while, but eventually they'll get one to go just enough.
40-odd runs or so.
Yeah, and you'll be out. And this was the story of the Ashes before, and the Ashes before that, and the Ashes before that. English batters trying to do what they were, aiming to do today, scoring at 2.5 or 3 and over, grinding Australia down with this sort of vision of putting enough overs into Pat Cummins' legs that eventually he'll spray it all over the place. Yeah, like it's not going to happen. Pat Cummins is too good. The scenario where you get to the golden days later in the series of Pat Cummins broken down, bowling with his left arm because he's too tired, or whatever it is you think's going to happen, you won't get there because Pat Cummins is too good. He'll end that dream for you. And even if you did get there, Pat Cummins he's a purebred. He's a thoroughbred. He's like a racehorse, like the perfect racehorse in human bowling form. He'll just keep getting you out. He'll keep doing the thing. Bowling will keep doing the thing, or they'll go to one of the other ones who does the thing, and you'll lose. And England are going to lose this Test match probably by quite a long way, playing the way that everyone was saying you should play. You should go to Australia. This is how you play in Australia. You do this, you do that. You leave the ball on length. You never try and score any runs in Australia. That's not what you do. What should England do? England should do what they tried to do in the first Test and second Test. There's 2 reasons for that. They are worse than Australia. They're not massively worse, but they are worse than Australia. by playing a high risk, high reward version of cricket, format of cricket, style of cricket. That's the word I'm looking for. Style of cricket. You introduce the possibility that you end today winning the match, like you end today in the lead. There was no for England to get a lead playing the way they're playing. They need about 2 days. England had about 2 days in about 15 years since Alistair Cook was playing. It's just not a scenario that's realistically on the table. It's not a thing they can do. Don't try and do a thing you can't do. Play your shots.
They also haven't picked a team that can do that either, right? Like the England team that did that, they had Alistair Cook, they had Jonathan Trott. They're
old now.
They're old now. Bring them back. But they're different, right? They have that in them. Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett opening the batting, they don't have that in them. That's not
the other thing.
I'm not sure what Ollie Pope does have in him at all.
Probably a ticket back to England. I think imagine
he's done, isn't he? He's toast.
The other thing you do is you have a chance if you are aggressive of rattling Australia, of moving them off a length, of making them go to plan B, of making them bowl in a way that is dictated to by the shots that are being played by the batter rather than based on just what they want to do. Scott Boland, and this is we've seen this in this series. Scott Boland is not as good when you're hitting him. He struggles. He hasn't got a very good plan B. His plan A is excellent. His plan A is S tier, all world 11. Like there's nothing between Scott Boland and Mitchell Starc if they're allowed to just do plan A over and over again. The difference is, and the reason that Starc is better, and the reason Australia will pick Starc over and over again is that Starc's plan B is still really, really good, and Boland's effectiveness drops off. You've got to ask that question. And England, they were brave in the first 2 tests, and they did try and make Australia answer those questions with the bat.
They landed punches.
And they landed a couple of punches, but mainly Australia was still too good for them and beat them pretty badly. And they got out in some pretty funny ways and got castigated for that. And in some cases, rightly castigated. I'm not just saying, tee off, but not recklessly. That's what I'm saying. I think, I don't know. I don't know if England have been reading newspapers. I don't know if they have had a motivational talk from Jonathan Agnew. I don't know what's happened.
Boycott. But something's got to them, isn't it? I mean, it's a change.
They have been rattled.
Visible change in what's happened, and we heard it in the press conferences and things, talking about reining it in and all that sort of thing. It's got to them, and they've changed the way they go about things. And I was saying all the way through this, like, England changing the way they want to approach things is a sign that it's all going to fall into a heap and we'll lose 5-0.
Yes.
And we are careering towards that.
We're heading towards 5-0. Yeah. I mean, look, there's the reason they've done this. There's partly it is English media, partly it's also Australia were really, really good in 2 tests, and maybe England feel they're forced into a change just because they can't see a way to beat Australia in the way that they sort of practiced to beat Australia. The rubber met the road, and maybe the England team looked at the performances in the first 2 tests and was just like, well, we can't win the way that we're playing. We are going to have to pull the pin on the grenade and completely flip the script. So maybe that happened. I think that's wrong. I think they've swung too far the other way here. Like what they really needed was probably a minor course correction, a word with Harry Brook about how important he is, and carry on. And instead, it's like, everyone do your boycott impression.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Not the bit where you beat your wife up.
Yeah, and look, the other thing that really can't be ignored, and we talked about this, the Australian bowlers are better than England bowlers.
Yeah,
that's where the other gulf is here. Like, England aren't facing England; they are facing Australia, and
unfortunately,
we've talked a lot about batting there because it's an England batting day.
Yeah,
but if most English people, I think, are pretty happy with the outcome of the Australian batting innings. Like, most people are thinking that's good. Like, well done. You arguably bowled Australia out for less than they were due there. But it's not like an all-time bowling performance. It's pretty good from Jofra Archer. The rest of them are still like, 300 for 5 when you combine their figures.
Oh, yes, they are, aren't they? That's bad. Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else, Max? We've got to do heroes and villains.
I think we have to. Well, yeah, heroes and villains. We haven't done that for a while. I think there's a pretty big villain, isn't there? We do have to talk about the Snicko thing.
Yes.
Because there's. I mean, I sort of semi-consciously in the middle of the night was treated to a quite bizarre rant from Alex Hartley on TMS about Snicko and it being a disgrace when Jamie Smith got out. And then Jim Maxwell was in the commentary box with her and was just like, he didn't know what to do. He tried to like throw it to Andy Zaltzman. He was like, I'm not getting involved. You two sort this out. But I think obviously the issue there was, and there was almost, the reverse happened just before, right? Jamie Smith gloved one that went to Khawaja. It didn't carry, so it didn't matter in the end. But he very clearly gloved one based on what we saw with our eyes. And then Snicko was weird, and Chris Gaffney said it hit him in the helmet. And then a little bit later, he swung at one. There was a big spike about 3 frames away from the ball hitting the bat, and he was given out, and everyone was talking about how that was different to Alex Carey, and that's not fair. But I think I do need to make the point that the Alex Carey thing was just someone being really shit at their job. Whereas the Jamie Smith thing was more an issue with the technology itself being fucking diabolical. Because, England going to lose this anyway. Entirely possible that Jamie Smith did actually hit that ball. And based on what they've been told about the technology with the frame difference between the sound and the picture, probably a reasonable thing to actually give it out, because there also wasn't a frame of the still where you had the bit where the ball passed the bat. You had a still from the ball after the bat and a still from the ball before the bat, but not the bit that mattered. And that is the problem, because Snicko, you need 2 pieces of information. You need to see the ball, and you need to know what the sound was happening when the ball was near the bat. And if you've got a 2-frame difference between the 2 feeds, then you can't do that. So that's shit. And maybe Australia, you should go and use Ultra Edge like everyone else, because that one actually works. And it's bad because, there's an expectance of infallibility with the technology, which is you could argue whether that's fair or not, because you're changing people's decisions based on what you've got with the technology. And if you start bringing in that kind of uncertainty, it's bad for the game, and makes breeds uncertainty, and it just reduces the integrity of the whole thing, and it's a really bad look, and it looks really, really stupid. But it's just it's crap, right? It's not fit for purpose.
It's really crap, yeah.
It's as bad as the TNT coverage.
I actually think with the Jamie Smith one, I think there's a decent chance he didn't hit it.
I mean, based on the reaction, it's pretty clear he didn't, right? But I know that I mean, there's a sound there, so maybe he did. I'm not, I'm not some sort of Jamie Smith truther. But looking at the different angles, it does it doesn't. None of the frames really line up in a way that convincingly makes me think, oh, he's hit that. There was one earlier in the season where the spike happened 7 frames later, but it was that was really close to the bat. That's probably out. You saw the ball move. Yeah.
This
a
one,
bit like the BGT one with was it Jaiswal and the hook?
Yeah.
So it's not a new problem either.
No, it isn't. Yeah, the physics of it I didn't really understand. I don't understand. So Ultra Edge, there's a couple of people in the chat, and thanks if you've been in the chat. By the way, I've been reading a lot of messages there. There's a couple of people in the chat talking about this. The Ultra Edge, it lines up the audio based on ball tracking information, I think. So it's not. There's no man in a hut pressing a button trying to do it that way. This is literally like old school VAR when that first came in, and there's a man with a felt tip pen. And
I assume the microphones they're using are like ham radios from the Second World War.
Yeah, it's a really, really odd system. I can't imagine that they'll be using this time next year, because it's been pretty shoddily done through the only series.
Thing
it's going to have a big outcome
for the England cricket team at the end of
it could have a even now, to be honest, it could have probably has had a big impact on the outcome of this match. Opposing they'll be very, very annoyed at the 2 decisions. I don't fully get that. They're definitely a villain. I'm not on the Smith one. Maybe he did hit it. I'm not that bothered. But I think once it's sort of not given out, it's hard with the information there and like
That's it, isn't it?
all the pictures not lining up to be like he's definitely hit that. Like I can't look at that and be like he's definitely hit it.
Fair enough. Third umpire's been given this information to make a decision, but the information he might as well be fucking blindfolded. It's ridiculous. All right, come on.
Yeah. Heroes. Any heroes? We've got to wrap this up quickly.
Yeah, heroes. Pat Cummins coming back straight in, or Nathan Lyon, one of the two, straight back from being injured or being out, and just reminding us all of how good he is. I know Pat Cummins, I think.
Yeah, go big Pat. I'll go Nathan Lyon then. First over. It basically that was the point. I'm sure there were TVs going off all around the UK, all around England anyway. Probably turning them on in Scotland. But, hey, Zach Crawley, he's the sacrifice. When England are 20 for 1, I was like, that doesn't matter. Who cares about him? And then for 2 people to be out the next over, and one of them's Duckett, who looked pretty good. That was bad and very heroic from Nathan Lyon. I thought, went past Glenn McGrath as well. That's a heroic thing to do.
That is true, actually. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, heroic. Look, thanks everyone for your messages. If you're in the live chat, Himanshu, Prithvi, Tim, Silas, Ron Diggerty, a few shout outs there. Enjoyed the messages, popped a few of them up on the screen as we went through as well. So join us for the next show. Do make sure you tell a friend, like and subscribe, do all of that sort of stuff. Do all the digital housekeeping, like and subscribe. Go over to Spotify, leave your review, help us beat Shane Warne, redeem English pride by getting us there, and then tell a friend. We saw on our Spotify Wrapped, which we get as creators, we're in the top 1% of world podcasts in terms of listens, in terms of listen time. We're like in the top 10% in terms of episodes shared. So we've got. I've deduced
room for improvement there.
I've deduced from this information that we, obviously it's a mainly male audience. It's a overwhelmingly male audience of people who are obsessed by cricket but really introverted about it and maybe ashamed. Don't be ashamed of liking the Cricket Podcast and cricket more generally. Tell your friends.
Get someone new into cricket. That happened, right? We've got Discord members who are new fledged cricket fans. So
SA30 saying I'm female in the chat. As the one. Thanks very much. Goodbye, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow. Would you reckon England can lose tomorrow? That's a question for you.
No, I don't think.
No, okay.
Australia will still be batting.
Do you reckon there's a day five potential?
Yeah, but like we'll be 6 down or something.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see. There could be 3 more podcasts.
We're chasing 900. I'll be 40 for 5.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
All right. Bye.